All right, guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to religious care. Can't name one reason for men to get married. Let's jump in.
We're saying you don't really think that there's a good, compelling reason for a man who's non-religious to get married.
No, not necessarily, because there's just a ton of legalities that go into it. You could play the argument of, oh, well, if you want to be with someone long term committed and you don't plan on ever splitting up or divorcing, then why not get married? But why get married? I think, like, personally, me, I want to get married under God. I'm a religious person, I'm Christian. And that's something that I would want, because I see it more as a union under God, and then the paperwork comes, and then we're legally and financially bind.
But even if there's
Yeah.
no paperwork, right, you consider this a sacrament, right?
I do consider it a sacrament, yes.
Okay. Moving over to the next, I believe it's Kendra. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you think of a good reason why non-religious men should actually get married to women in modernity?
I think it goes both ways for, making like sacrifices for each other. I mean, I think that'd be the only way. Like, you both sacrifice things, and
Couldn't you both sacrifice the same things without getting married?
I mean, a sacrifice in marriage would also be legality in terms of money, finances.
Couldn't that be settled with a prenuptial agreement?
Yeah, but during the marriage, you still share the same money.
Yeah, sure, but you could still share the same money if you weren't married, right?
Yeah, and that's the sacrifice. Because you're legally
I don't understand, what's the sacrificial part?
because you're legally bound, and like when you're not married, you're not. So like if I'm not married to somebody, I could have my own funds somewhere else. We could still share the same money. But like legally,
Yeah, so then what's the incentive to get married if you're
that's what
not
I'm saying.
religious?
The only thing would be like to make those types of sacrifices.
But you can make those same type of sacrifices absent marriage if you're a secularist. That's what I don't understand.
I mean, yeah, but it wouldn't be the same sacrifice. Like,
Why not? Why wouldn't it be the same? So if you're not religious, then you say, okay, but we're going to share all of the money, right, exactly equally. Now you're not legally bound, but you just
Yeah.
do the same exact thing. What would be?
I mean, there's
it's
other
the same
sacrifices.
sacrifice, right?
There's other sacrifices besides just money.
Well, what are the other ones?
I mean, legally, you can't like.
No, I think legally you can be with other people. So you could be married, for instance, and open your relationship up, and you would still very much be married. You could step out of your marriage, and you would still very much be married by the state, for instance. But even that aside, if you were a secularist, meaning non-religious, and you didn't get married, couldn't you just not step outside of that relationship anyway?
Good question.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not married, so
Yeah.
I can't really speak on it. I don't know all the details.
Like for instance, right now, if you were in a relationship, you had a boyfriend, and you both loved each other, but you weren't married, you would still consider it cheating if you slept with another woman, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
easier to leave, though.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, exactly. It's easier to leave, but you would still consider it cheating even though you weren't married, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, you could still have those same types of arrangements even if you weren't married, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there's just more of a sacrifice being made because, like, if you do cheat and you do decide to separate and you want to get divorced, there's a lot more that goes into that than just leaving.
Right. So, from the perspective of the man, if he was going to get a worse end of the deal, generally, if that were to occur, if you were a man and you weren't religious, wouldn't you just not want to get married?
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Sure.
Okay.
I
Thank
don't
you.
wanna- I don't really wanna get
Going
married.
over to Emma with.
And the need to be right is very strong. I noticed that when females become very toxic, they always play that sad language, man. As their first card. That's the need to be right is so big. That's why it's very hard to have a very concise conversation when it comes time to these type of topics. They don't understand why they cannot name a reason for men to get married. They don't understand.
The crazy mom. What's your answer here? Can you think of a good, compelling reason?
I cannot.
You can't.
No reason. No idea.
And then Alex.
So the only reasons I personally think that there are to get married are if there's children involved, and or if there's
Stupid reason.
two different countries kind of thing. So it's like for one person to come over to the other country and stay within that country, a lot of times they have to be actually physically married in order to be, to have like a visa to actually stay here. Otherwise, it'd be a lot more difficult. So overall, I don't think there's an actual reason, but those are the only two that I think that are valid.
So the reasons that you would have would be, this benefits me in some way.
And it's always a benefit that's not for the man. It's that literally a benefit that's not for the man.
But you would agree with me, for instance, even if we were talking about visa immigration, that people could get married who didn't love each other at all, just for the purposes of bringing that person over, right? And this happens quite often.
I completely agree with you. But again, we're just talking about the marriage part. So, that still, I think, counts.
Okay, thank you. And then moving over to Turkish. And by the way, you said your name is Turkish Delight. Did you get that from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? I'm just curious, right?
No,
Did you get
I
that
didn't.
from the movie?
I didn't.
No?
I'm sorry. I just like Turkish
That's the only
delights.
time I ever heard of
they're
that
so
candy,
delicious.
by the way, was in that movie. But I was just curious.
I don't even know the
so,
movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you think of a good, compelling reason why a non-religious person should actually get married, especially a man?
To be honest, I feel like you should only marry if you want like I would only get married in the sense of religion.
There you go.
But I feel like if you want to get married, you should do it for the sake of wanting to. And it's like,
There we go, man. They cannot do understand the question. Am I crazy? One reason why men need to be get married. Why men need to get married, and they go straight to them. My goodness.
wanting the benefit of it. Me, like I feel like this sense of security. I know you're saying they can cheat regardless, whether or not they're married or not. But it's kind of more giving that sense of security where like you both know. It's like an agreement that you're both communicating to stay loyal to each other, to stay with each other through sickness and in health, to being with each other, to working together on like your goals for your children. Like I'm very traditional in a sense of a man and a woman. They get married, they raise the children, have a family, grow old together.
Talking about her.
That's
Sure.
the way that
Well,
I
hang on.
want it.
Let's
Sorry.
kind of take these one at a time.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I was just getting your position down.
Okay.
So, starting with the last thing you said first, why couldn't a man and a woman do all of those same things you just stated, not married?
They can. There's definitely people that do that without marriage. But me personally, I think
Yeah, I know
it's-
you. Hang on, you personally. We're going to leave that aside, right? This is not what you, as the religious Alexa, would do. I already know what you would do. You want marriage. You want the kids. You want the husband. You want the covenant, right?
Yeah.
What we would call the covenant.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it in Islam, but what we would call the covenant. You want that. Got that. Can you think of a good reason, though, why men who are not religious should get married?
Men who are not religious and do not believe in any God, they don't believe in any religion, they don't believe in heaven and hell, like atheist type, like genuine questions.
Yep. Those types.
They would do it for their significant other to make them happy. Like for
Yeah,
example,
but-
if I was marrying an atheist, I feel like they would only do it for the sake for me. I feel like regardless, they
why
wouldn't really
would
care.
and why would that be? But why would that be good for them?
Because maybe they need to be married under their own act, like they want to be married.
Yeah, but they don't want to be married.
No. I know they don't want to, but I'm saying you're asking me why would someone who is
Yeah,
not
what would
religious
actually be
want
the
to?
incentive? So the question here is, if you're an atheist or a secularist, non-religious, you don't believe in all of what you consider the god, voodoo, hoodoo, the sky fairy, the, whatever you call it. And you look at the deal that a man has in modernity in the West in marriage and what happens with divorce and things like this. What would your actual incentive to get married to a woman be?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like if people don't really want religion, I don't think they really want marriage because it doesn't hold any much value to them. But
Right.
if they were to do it, it would honestly be for the sake of the other person if the other person wanted the marriage.
So your answer is basically just only if it made the other
Someone
person
else happy. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Because
What
like,
an answer, huh?
let's say you
What an
were
answer.
just you were sitting down in a room, and it was just you were just purely being asked this on a cost benefit analysis, right? Let's say that you were a marriage counselor, and your job was to only do a cost benefit analysis. Two secularists came in, non-religious, and they sat down and they said, "Look, she wants to get married and I don't because I take all the risks and she's not taking any risk," right? The courts favor her, everything else. What would your advice be to him if that was your job?
oh my God. I'm going to be honest, I feel like if he's looking at the relationship in terms of loss, then that doesn't feel like a genuine relationship. Because you'd want to, this is my opinion.
But isn't she doing the same thing by demanding he get married?
But like, shouldn't she bring something to the plate by getting married? Like, is it just all of his money? Like, I feel like,
So she's only getting herself to the cheese the plate, I guess. Oh my God. She's the plate, man. We have so much disconnect. Man, it makes sense that when you watch politics, man, it's always trying to pander to women, man. Most of the time. I don't know what happened, but men have to create more value in themselves. We have to, folks. We cannot keep doing this. We are literally the last one to talk about. They talk about us last. And also, but they're quick to put us in front when it's time to just fix the problems. I mean, this is not okay to just drive a society like this. Like, this is not. Well, there's no sense of the value for men. She just said it. The fact that she just bring herself to it. That's to marriage. That should be enough.
wouldn't she be also contributing to the marriage and contributing to the money and contributing?
Yeah,
sorry.
sure, but why should he take the additional risk if they already have the equal contribution?
What is his additional risk?
You know, the additional risk is that the courts will likely favor her in the case of divorce, and the chances that they get divorced is actually quite high. So you are here just doing a cost-benefit analysis, and he says, well, based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it might be a really raw deal for me and a very good deal for her.
But why is he
These are your
thinking about-
clients. Hang on, these are your clients, and you have to give him the advice. What would you give this atheist? What advice from just a purely cost-benefit analysis would you give him?
Don't get married.
I think
No,
maybe.
no, hang on, let her answer.
I think I would honestly just say to remain patient and to like organize other things before the marriage card becomes dealt with, because one, I feel like I wouldn't want to be with someone who's worried about being divorced. I don't know, that's weird to me. Like, don't you want eternity with me? Why are you thinking about
That's how you manipulate men to just get into the marriage. But what happened is when you're in a marriage, these things are supposed to be upheld, right, by God, right? But you guys are the one breaking the marriage. So therefore, that has no meaning. That has no meaning. So that argument itself, it does not hold value. Like, it's so abstracted. You want me to simply just trust you out of the wind, which is insane.
the outcome?
Well, they don't believe in eternity.
But then, so they should be focusing on the present. And on the present right now, I'm telling you I love you. I'm telling you that I want to
There we
commit
go.
with you. And I
Yeah,
want
they
to.
love you, and they love you too.
And if they're scared, then I think it's something they just need to wait on. Like, I don't recommend getting married if that is something that's like, if that's going to make them feel bad.
So you would
then-
tell them not to get married.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
so essentially, your advice ultimately to the man would be, don't do it.
Don't do it now until you're comfortable.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it.
Yes,
right?
the
Because
now
if
aspect.
you were just doing pure cost-benefit analysis, so your advice to the man would be, don't do it.
Yes, if that's gonna.
Yeah.
But I feel like the partner should also understand from their part. Like, if my partner was feeling like that and saying like, I feel like there's divorce or whatever, I feel like it's just like. It's about like coming to an agreement. It's about meeting halfway, like seeing how can both people be happy. Like, if he's
Yeah.
that worried, like, oh my God, we need to talk about that.
Can you
Like,
look right into the camera and tell that man no?
No. Did I do it right?
You did it right. You did it right.
Okay.
You aced this test, I promise. Moving over to Q. Q, cost benefit analysis, right? Can you give me a good, compelling reason why a non-religious man in modernity should get married?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't see the overall benefit in it, especially if the foundation is holy matrimony. The only thing that I would say would even be potentially compelling enough would be dependent on how much they value just the idea of it, in the sense of, I want to be married. You know, and maybe they grew up religious and converted to being atheist.
So like
and
there's
all.
a tradition behind it.
Yeah, like just
But let's give you the same scenario. I think I can understand the idea that because my parents were married, my grandparents were married, I also want to be married, even if, even if I'm not religious. I think I can kind of wrap my head around that. But help me out here. You are doing a cost-benefit analysis, sitting down with this couple who are both atheists. And the man says, look, this looks like it's going to be a really raw deal for me. I'm taking a lot of risk here. And it seems like the risk is very mitigated on her end. So we either do a prenup or I'm just not going to do the marriage. What would you advise this man to do?
well, first I would warn him about all the risks that he's involved with. That's the first thing. I would let him know.
He's already acknowledging the risk. They're
Yeah, so-
arguing because she wants to get married, he doesn't. Because of these risks.
It's not really-
Can you tell me the compelling reason you give him as to
There's
why
none.
he should?
There's none.
No.
No.
I can't really think of a.
No.
Yeah,
there's
no.
none.
Can't give him. So I just want to reiterate, this is the men and the women agreeing. Not a single person has been able to give a good reason for why men in modernity should actually marry non-religious women, and them not being religious themselves, why they should get married. I just wanted to point that out, right? Maddie, what about you? Right, by the way, I haven't picked on you in weeks, which I always feel bad about. Tell me, can you think of a single reason?
No, I mean, if you're even hesitating marriage, I don't think you should get married at all. The only reason I can actually think of, which kind of sounds like a little manipulative, is that it's harder for her to leave. Make it a pain in the ass for her to leave.
It's just like,
Which is bad. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion because it seems like there's no reasons. Before, just, the guy, if there's a divorce, makes sense because back then, the man would just get the benefits of that divorce. So even though the guys don't usually initiate divorces. But now you gave all the power to the victim, right? So the victim can just simply not only break your family, she can take everything out of your hand, and everything you work for, she will just take between 50 to 75%. And if you don't pay, you go to prison. And by the way, even though you're paying child support, you're not even guaranteed to see your kids. I don't know, guys. If you guys can think about any type of benefits regarding marriage, let me know in the comment section. I'll see you in the next one.